So welcome to this presentation, Learn the Essentials of the MLA 8th edition Style Guide in just 10 minutes. So in this presentation, which is based on, which comes from lecture 6.2 of my Introduction to Academic Writing course, lecture is called MLA Style Guide, Pay Attention to the Details. This is a revised version of that lecture in the course. And in this, the course itself, let me say just a few words about the course, Introduction to Academic Writing. There are 6 modules. 5 of them deal, of course, with the writing process, as you can see. Module 1, come up with a debatable thesis or a main idea. This is always a challenge for students. It's a cognitive challenge for students, whether first language or second language, to do that. Second, my favorite, which is Module 2, it's on research, take notes, think clearly, summarize, paraphrase, quote. Lots of content in that module. Third module has to do with actual writing style, sentences, and then building up into paragraphs. Coherent paragraphs, really important. Module 4, using an outline and a draft, which I believe in strongly. Module 5, which is the revising, editing, and proofreading process to get the paper looking right. And then finally Module 6, which we have here, part of it anyway, how to use the MLA style guide. So the gist of the presentation, MLA 8 Essentials, I begin with discussing the 9 core elements, actually 8, and I make a distinction between a source and a container, which is new to the style guide. Then we jump into the gist of the lecture, the presentation, which has to do with showing a web page citation, showing a works cited page layout, showing works cited examples from different publications, showing how an in-text citation works, and finally using the citation builder, a really great tool for building your works cited page. So, as I say, all of this comes from my writing course, Introduction to Academic Writing. If you have any questions or comments, you can get to me at frank@frankbrunkowski.com. Thanks. Enjoy the lecture. Bye. This part of the course is a revised version based on the new edition of the MLA. And as you can see, I'm not at my usual home office, so there may be some background noise. Okay, so the MLA focuses, as you see in the slide, the MLA focuses on 9 core elements for any citation or entry. It's actually 8 core elements because the last item on the list, location of the source, is not necessary. So why give it? So your entry begins with the author. Then you have the title of the source, and the title of what they call a container, which is the main source. So for example, if you're citing a short story in an anthology, which is a collection of stories, the anthology is the container holding the short story. So you need to cite both. Next, you identify other authors or contributors, if there are any. And then you would write the version, and then finally you write the date of publication, and that's it. Notice that all these 8 elements are not necessarily used with any citation. In other words, the number of core elements varies from citation to citation. Okay, let's move on to the web page citation, and here's a good example. I chose this example because probably most of the resources you use in your paper will be found online. In this example, there are 6 pieces of information. You need to include the author, his name, the article title, the website title, the publisher, the publication date, and the URL or web address. So let's go through this example step by step. So you begin with the last name of the author, white, followed by the first name, Lori, and then a period. You write the title of the article in quotes, quotation marks, and followed by a period at the end of the title, which appears inside the quote. Small point, but important. Next, you include the name of the website in italics, followed by a comma. Then you write the name of the publisher, Cloud Tiger Media, again followed by a comma. And then you write the date the article was published, the day, the month, which is abbreviated in this case, and the year, followed by another comma. Finally, you write the URL or website, beginning with the www, and you don't need to include HTTP or HTTPS:// before the web address. Good. And also, you don't need to include the date you accessed or read the article, as was the case in past versions of the MLA. Okay. The Works Cited page. Now, this is an important page in your essay, and now let's see how a Works Cited page looks. And it comes from the Honolulu Community College library. The Works Cited page appears at the very end of your essay on a new page. And keep in mind that all the entries on this page include only the works you cited in the essay. It does not include all the sources you looked at but did not cite. The two green boxes at the top explain how to format your essay. We'll talk more about that later in the next lecture, 6.3, proper layout, follow the rules. Notice that the entries are in alphabetical order. There's also a hanging indent after the first line of the entry. So you would move the text over one tab space. And notice also there's half-line spacing between the lines of the text. Okay, next. Works Cited examples. Now this is another useful slide from the Wake Forest University Library. The first four entries show different kinds of book sources. One author, two authors, three or more authors, as well as a book that was translated. Notice example 2 has two authors. So we begin with the primary author's last name first, but we begin with the first name of the second author, followed by the last name, if there's a second author. Example 5 shows a source and a container. Now this is something we talked about in the MLA overview. And the source is a short story, and the container is an anthology. So after the date of publication, you notice you need to include page numbers of the source, PP period, for example. And as I mentioned before, you don't need to give the HTTP:// for an online source, as we see in example 7. Okay, in-text citations. Here is another helpful guide from the Wake Forest University Library, and it shows how to use in-text citations. You're probably asking, what is this creature? What do we mean by an in-text citation? It's an important concept to master because it can save your academic life. How so? Well, an in-text citation refers to the ideas or words you use, whether as a direct quotation, an indirect quotation, or a paraphrase from the sources appearing on your Works Cited page. Get into the practice of using in-text citations properly because they can protect you from plagiarism. We talked about how to use correctly the ideas of others in lecture 3.7. Don't plagiarize. Cheating can get you into hot water. So how do you include an in-text citation in your essay? It's simpler than you think. The first example shows how to paraphrase the work of an author. If you mention the name of the author in the sentence, Posnock, for example, all you need to do is cite the page number in parentheses. So open parenthesis, 181, close parenthesis, and then period. In the second example, the name of the author, Posnock, does not appear in the sentence. So you need to cite the name in the citation. Open parenthesis, Posnock, 181, close parenthesis, period. Another thing to notice in the last example is the use of ellipsis, ... It begins the quote, and we use ellipsis to exclude any words that are not essential to the quote. Let's move on. Citation Builder. Let's talk about the Citation Builder, a cool tool to create citations error-free. The link shown comes from the North Carolina State University Library. It's a no-stress way to create a proper citation if you enter the right information. You can enter information about a book, chapter or essay from a book, a magazine article, or newspaper article, and so on. And presto, the Citation Builder creates a proper citation to use on your Works Cited page. It should be easy for you to use this tool if you keep track of your sources, as we showed in lecture 2.2, do research, know how to read. I myself use the Citation Builder for all the sources I cited in this course. Wrap up. This is the end of this lecture and almost the end of the course. In this lecture, we showed you the key features of the MLA 8th edition. And we showed why the MLA Style Guide is such a useful document for giving your paper academic credibility. We also looked at a typical web page citation for an online search, a Works Cited page, and the Citation Builder, which I need to correct to say that it shows you how to properly give the source of a citation. In the last lecture of the course, we will review these notions in looking at a sample essay. See you later.